welcome to our review of the Good Newspaper. This month we're looking at a number of very interesting stories, and it's our May edition, and we're here with my friend Mark. So Mark, over to you.
Thank you, Colin. Folks, this is just my personal belief, but I believe that in the West, we don't talk enough about death, and so we don't have a very well rehearsed philosophy or theology on death. So there's an article on page 2 of this month's Good Newspaper I think will be very, very helpful, very interesting. There's a lady who was a hospice doctor in both America and Rwanda, and in those two contrasting cultures, as she nursed people to the point of death and through death, there were some commonalities. One of the things that happened as she watched people in these life and death situations, she became even more convinced that the place called hell and the place called heaven are real places. What I find very interesting is the contrast she brings out from her own personal experience between heaven and hell. It's very emotive, it's very personal, but I think it's very, very helpful. Now, the main point of the article is about the idea of a good death. Again, I just think that when death is talked about prominently in the West, look, we know it's going to happen, and the idea is and this is natural, this is understandable, we don't want that long, slow, painful death. And so I think reading this idea of what this hospice doctor calls a good death, I think it'll be very helpful. It's very insightful. Yes, it does involve, she is a Christian, it does involve Jesus Christ, but how does Jesus fit into that idea of a good death? I encourage you to read the article. If you're curious enough, find out. I think it'll be a very helpful article there on page 2 of this month's Good Newspaper about a topic that I think most of us are still in the dark about. Colin?
Thanks, Mark. In the article that I'm looking at it's entitled "Finger on the Button." What's interesting is the subject of the article was a nuclear missile officer, and then he worked for the CIA. But what's most interesting, to me anyway, is that he was a very anti-religious, an atheist, and he became very convinced the other way. And it was because of a faithful Christian, he says. Apparently he was an air cadet and training, and very anti-religion, and he was sharing a room with this Christian, and he made this Christian's life misery. He said, I treated him like trash. It sounded pretty horrible to live with, you can imagine, can't you? But this fellow trainee didn't respond in kind. He didn't get defensive or angry. He just woke up with a smile, and he was very gracious. And this sort of must have worked in the back of his head, because over a period of time, this guy, whose name is Andrew, he made a complete U-turn and started to think that there was a God. And he says, this man demonstrates to me what a faithful Christian looks like. And maybe you have not actually met a faithful Christian yet. I mean, there's a lot of us who don't act very well as Christians. Sometimes we get angry, we lose our temper, and the worries of life overcome us. But if you can meet a faithful Christian, that will make a big difference to you. But even if you don't, what we know as Christians is we have a faithful God. So I would encourage you to look in the Bible, find out more about Jesus, and find out how faithful he is, and pray that you will meet a Christian who can demonstrate something of Jesus to you. Mark, over to you.
I wonder what it might be that might cause you to consider a U-turn. Perhaps an article in this month's Good Newspaper might prompt that for you. I encourage you to get the article either online or a hard copy of this month's Good Newspaper, and be challenged, be encouraged, be inspired. God bless.